The Joe Rogan Experience.
Do you know what that came from? Do you know what that's from? Honestly,
What?
hookworm.
Hookworm.
Yeah, it's really crazy. The stereotype of the lazy, mouth-breathing Southerner came from massive amounts of people that were infected with parasites. And these parasites were extremely common, particularly when people walk around barefoot. And they would get these worms. And these worms would get into their system, and one of the side effects of these worms was a decreased brain function. So that's a real stereotype that came from a real thing. So
wow.
pull up a hookworm in the South, and then stereotypes, because I forget who told me this. But then I wound up going on a deep dive one night and just reading article upon article about this, where they didn't even find out that this was a thing until I think it was like the 1960s. They found out about this hookworm parasite, and this parasite that was extremely prevalent in the South. These things, many of them, how hookworm gave the South a bad name. Hookworms once sapped the American South of its health, yet few realize they continue to affect millions. So this is this worm would infect people. Make that a little larger, please. For more than 3 centuries, a plague of unshakable lethargy blanketed the American South. It began with ground itch, in quotes, a prickly tingling in the tender webs between the toes, which was soon followed by a dry cough. Weeks later, victims succumbed to an insatiable exhaustion and an impenetrable haziness of the mind that some called stupidity. Adults neglected their fields, and children grew pale and listless. Victims developed grossly distended bellies and angel wings, emaciated shoulder blades accentuated by the hunching. All gazed out dully from sunken sockets with a telltale fish-eye stare. The culprit behind the germ of laziness, as the South affliction was sometimes called, was Nectar americanus, the American murderer, better known today as the hookworm. Millions of these blood-sucking parasites lived, fed, multiplied, and died within the guts of up to 40% of the population stretching from southeastern Texas to West Virginia. Hookworms stymied development throughout the region and bred stereotypes about lazy, moronic Southerners. Well,
They talk like
there
that.
it is. That's why you do it. That's why we all do it. We do it because it was a real thing, and it was a real thing because these poor people were sick with parasites.
Wow. I learned some shit today,
Yeah.
Joe.
Isn't that a nutty one? That's a nutty
And
one.
I'm from Texas.
That's when you go, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I always used to think it was just hot there, and it's hard to think.
Well, now when people say, you don't sound like you're from Texas, I'm like, thank you.
You do a little bit. I can hear a little bit.
Really?
There's a touch.
I say y'all still.
There's a touch. It's a touch.
No, you didn't know that. There's no touch.
Yeah. No,
Really?
you have a touch of Southern, some Texan in there. Just a touch.
Yeah.
But you're definitely not from New York.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you're not from Boston. It's like you have something going on there.